today's episode, I want to tackle what I think is maybe one of the biggest psychological hurdles that we deal with as leaders. I think it's one of the things that occupies the most brain space. It's something that consumes some of the most compute on a regular basis. And it really revolves around this question of, how do I tell this person this thing without being rude or insensitive? How do I not hurt their feelings or get them to be defensive? How do I say this thing that, nicely, but actually get them to hear me? How do I not sabotage my message to them, but actually tell them this hard truth? We spend a lot of time as leaders worrying about what we don't want to do, how not to do something. Today, I'm going to challenge you directly and let you know that you don't have to be nice. In fact, I'm going to tell you directly, don't be a nice leader. What you need to be is kind. The words you're looking for, the line you're trying to toe, the position you're trying to hold is that of a kind boss, a kind leader. Let's dive into why this distinction is so important. Welcome to the Leadership Unplugged, where I show you what real leadership sounds like. Why not nice? Well, a nice boss will tell you you're doing fine until they have to lay you off. And you'll be surprised that you're getting laid off because for the last 6 months, your boss hadn't told you were doing anything wrong, but you were at the bottom of the list. And in fact, you were one of the easiest people for them to choose not to keep. A nice boss will tell you that you're doing just fine. You don't need to make any changes, but then a promotional opportunity will arise and you won't even get a call or an email. You won't make the short list because your boss never really had the courage to tell you that there was more you could do to reach that next level of potential. A nice boss will avoid sensitive topics like how to hold you accountable during your shift to part-time, how to hold you accountable to consistently being on time because it's damaging your reputation with your people. Or they'll avoid a conversation with you about what the company should realistically expect from you as you roll into maternity leave, or as you have that vacation for 2 weeks approaching, or how engaged you're really going to be when you're going through something personally challenging like the loss of a parent, and for how long they should expect that. Or heck, they'll just avoid it until something negative externally happens, until a client complains, or their boss notices, or a vendor or peer says something. That way they aren't the person initiating the conflict, they're just the messenger. See, it lets them feel better about themselves. A nice boss will prioritize their own short-term emotional comfort and safety over your long-term success. The world is filled with nice bosses. It doesn't need more of them. Now look, they're well-intentioned. It's not malicious, but I'm here to tell you hard truths. And that's that being a nice boss is lazy. It's inconsiderate. And frankly, it avoids the real responsibility of leadership. The alternative to that, something that allows you to accomplish the goal without the detrimental aspects of it I just mentioned, is kindness. So why kindness? Well, kind bosses prioritize your long-term success over their own short-term discomfort. They recognize that one of their primary jobs as a leader is to have the responsibility and the privilege of having these difficult conversations with you and for you, to let you know when you're making mistakes or could do better, so that you go and correct it, so that you earn more opportunities because it's good for you, not good for them, so that you can get that promotion, so that when you take a vacation, you can actually do so completely disconnected, knowing everything is handled and come back to a normal workload. So that when you are going through a hard time or approaching one, you don't have to be uncertain or anxious about what your contributions are going to be and how your company is going to feel about it. Your boss understands that the deep-rooted truth is that you want more out of your life. You want more responsibility, more money, more time off, more opportunity, more home life, more contribution, things like that. And that to get it, in order to earn those things, that you need to be more efficient, more capable, more trustworthy, more effective with your time, more skillful, those things. That's what you need. And they'll have the hard conversations with you about your habits, your performance, your attitude, your contributions, your presence. And they'll do it knowing that they're going to trigger some initial friction, but that they're willing to weather that storm and that frustration because you matter, because they value your long-term success more than their own initial comfort. These kind of bosses get people promoted. They get people raises, they get them better PTO, they get them more work-life balance, and they do it not by giving people those things, but by helping their people earn those things, by helping you grow your skills, your experience, your thought process, your productivity, your habits, your attitude. They help you change for the better for you. So how do they do that? How do you become a kind boss? Hey, if you're excited to figure out how to be a kind boss in this next part here, that probably means you should take a second and subscribe so that I can bring you more Leadership Unplugged every week. So how do you become a kind leader? Well, it starts with a mindset shift and a mental commitment. So you might just take a second and either say it out loud or write it on a piece of paper if it'd be awkward for you to say something to yourself right now. But say it out loud and write it down. I'm going to be kind, not nice. You might even take a second and reflect. Hit pause if you need to, but reflect. When was the last time you were nice instead of kind? When was the last time you sabotaged the message because you were nervous they were going to be defensive? Because if you can look backwards and recognize a moment where you had the opportunity to be kind, but you didn't do it and instead you were nice, then you'll know what to look out for in the future. And you can actually look to the future a little bit here too. So here's my challenge to you. Take a second right now and write down the names of the people that work for you. All of them. Maybe write it down on a piece of paper. Maybe write it down on OneNote, something along those lines. I don't care. I'm not asking you to leave a paper trail here. I'm just saying the act of kinetically doing this will be meaningful for you here. Take a second and write out their names. And then next to their name, just jot down a word. What is it you need to tell them in kindness? What have you been holding back that would be beneficial for them if they knew it and changed it? Maybe it's poor performance. Maybe it's low attendance, punctuality. Heck, maybe they're actually doing fine. They just aren't doing fine enough to earn the next degree of opportunity. Who knows? It doesn't have to be negative here. Heck, you can actually, out of kindness, go reinforce best practices or things that people are doing well. But my challenge for you is to write it down. Take the mental commitment seriously and jot down what it is you need to tell those people, because that's going to propel you to be more likely to do it. See, we like working for kind bosses who think of us like this. We like working for people who invest in us and who aren't afraid of us. In fact, the only people who don't like this are your C and D players, and it's okay to make them mad. They might grow into A and B players if you're willing to challenge them more directly. Or you might recognize that maybe you don't want those folks on the team. Now look, the first time you do this, the first time you go try to be kind and not nice, it's going to feel really scary, I guarantee you. But after you've done it once, you'll recognize it actually wasn't that scary. And you'll develop a little skill with it, and potentially, if you give it enough time, you'll recognize that that person really did value it. But if you had done it a few times, you would know exactly what you want to say and how you want to say it, and you'd know how to get the conversation started. In fact, you could go back and look at episodes 4 and 5 about enrollment, and heck, even the next episode that's coming up about how to start a difficult conversation to give you the exact words to say. But that's actually what we do in our programs, is we help people practice having these difficult conversations so that when the moment arises to actually have it, they've done it before. They're not scrambling, trying to figure it out. But here you are, you have your list, and you have your mindset now. You've made the commitment. You know what you need to say already, though. Look, you know you need to go tell that person that if they keep showing up late, you're never going to trust them with an additional shift, and their peers aren't going to respect them very much. You know that you need to go tell that person that they actually do have to QA/QC their own work and submit it fully completed, because you're not going to keep handing it over to somebody else to cover for them anymore. Because if they don't change that, you're never going to give them additional responsibilities. You know that they need to hear that if they keep being a toxic cloud in the break room or on Slack or around the water cooler with their negative attitudes all the time, they're never going to get the respect from their peers, and they're certainly never going to earn the opportunity to lead them. These are the hard truths we have to be comfortable communicating as a leader, bearing the short-term frustration from our people because they need to hear this if they're going to get where they are trying to go. Look, I'll show you how to do it, but today, you just need to make the mental commitment and the physical commitment of who and what it is you need to go and say, and to recognize that you're going to have to grow into kindness and grow away from being the nice boss you've been forever. So don't be nice. You lose your best people, and you'll be constantly frustrated because you haven't had the courage to go and have the difficult conversation with your worst people. See, courage and conviction are what's really needed here. I once had a client tell me, Eric, it kind of sounds like most of this comes down to having 2 seconds of courage to start the difficult conversation. And after that, you're already in it. It's not that hard, not that scary. And I agree with them. You do need the courage to go have the conversation. And you need to have the conviction to stand in the fire, to bear their frustration, their disappointment, their deflection, their excuses, their short-term hurt, because you actually care enough about them to know that it's worth bearing that. See, at some point or another, you start to think of this into terms that if you don't tell your people these things, that you're holding back on them, that you're actually limiting them, and it becomes unbearable to feel like you're the block in their success. That you not telling them something like this is preventing them from the next level of success. And when you flip your mindset like that, it becomes very easy to have the conviction to bear the frustration and friction that are a part of the fire. But if you can do that, you can summon 2 seconds of courage, and you can have the conviction to realize that if you don't tell them these things, you're hurting them, then you can push through it. And you can go have a massive impact on your team, and you'll enjoy the heck out of leading a lot more. So go do it. Stop being nice. Go be kind. Here, look, hard truths are what we do here. And if you want and need more Leadership Unplugged, take a second, click the subscribe button. Come back next week for more. I'll see you then.